gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day.
Hello, Keller Williams, and welcome back to the 90s.
That was an intro.
It was an intro. It was a short version of the song.
What, you got 7 bars to enjoy.
Yeah, it was very good. You got to be strong.
How was your weekend?
Weekend was fantastic. I had a couple April Fool's joke played on me.
Oh, do tell.
I did. I had one Jason Abrams text me and say, you know, you're really my best friend. And I thought, that is so kind. That is so nice. And then he said April Fool's. So
funny, right?
Nope.
I thought it was.
So we do have some guests in studio. So let's kick off and let's get it underway.
Yes.
And we're going to go to our purpose perspective. So I want to welcome Casey Clark. Casey, from where are you from? Colorado Springs?
Hi, yes.
All right, welcome. You want to stand right here?
Stand in the middle.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
I am Casey Clark with Market Center 401. I'm actually the employing broker, past team leader. Yeah.
That's great. All things leader.
All things.
So you're here to talk to us about a very important purpose perspective. And so if we could pull that screen up while we talk, and you got to hold that a little closer. There we go. So let's talk about Noah. Who is Noah?
So Noah is the son of a very important leader within Market Center 1114 in Fountain, Colorado. And Sly Martinez is the employing broker. Noah is the son. Noah actually has San Luis Valley syndrome. And it is a disorder. It's a chromosomal disorder that at about 6 weeks, I believe it was, is when he was diagnosed. And as he continues to get older, he almost digresses he's now wheelchair bound. Oh. About 2 weeks ago, he had a brain aneurysm and a stroke, which has led him to only have about quarter use of his body. His right quadrant is non-functioning right now, as well as his lower extremities. And through this process, he's going to go through rehab and rehabilitation. He's in the hospital right now for another 2 months. But while Sylvester is self-employed like all of us, every day we wake up looking for our next clients and building that pipeline. And just Sly is one of those gentlemen that will give the shirt off his back. And we as a community just really want to be able to give our shirts off our backs to help this amazing family that's always been in our Colorado community.
Yeah, there was someone in the chat that says they love Sly. He's a great person.
Very, very.
And we brought a bunch of leaders from Colorado you're in town for Leadership Academy, and we thought we would bring you on and talk about Noah. And for those of you like myself who have had children either pass or have had children with serious challenges, we just call all of our prayer warriors that that's the most powerful thing we can do right now. Jason always reminds us of that. And number 2, if you feel led to contribute to Noah, they're having some challenges.
Yes. So Sly is actually having to move out of his house to get closer to where Noah's house is. They're also going to be having to redo pretty much the whole house with adaptive equipment. As he goes through rehab, we do not know what the future looks like yet. No parent should ever have to be worried about what that looks like.
Yeah, and we're not going to let Sly, as he's known, Sylvester, yes. Go without. And so if you feel inclined, please take the QR code there and feel free to give. Jason and I both will be giving to this cause as well today.
Thank you, and big prayers.
Big prayers. Thank you so much for being here. Here, thank you. You're changing the world. You're affecting people. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Man,
all right. I know.
That's tough.
I was hoping to have a light intro because I knew how heavy that was going to be. And so we have some challenges. And this is why we do what we do. It's why we want to think abundantly. It's why we want you to make enough money to take care of your family and to also grow so that you can give back to your community. With that note, is Carrie on? I wanted to bring Carrie on, the OP from Little Rock, Arkansas. Do we have her? They're writing me a note. She's not on yet.
Oh, no, we're
so we'll
on.
have her break in. There you are. I see you.
Yeah, we're on. Hey, I got the crew here.
Hey, how are you, Carrie?
Good. How are you?
We are doing great. And so just catch us up. I know it was, what was it, Friday night. that we had some tornadoes drop out of the sky, hit 3 miles from the market center. And as the OP there, you jumped right into action. So tell us the story.
Yeah. So I've got Glenn, the team leader, Sam, our tech trainer here. And we were at the office, and all of a sudden the alarms are going off. And, we got the news up, and it was about a mile from the office, half a mile to a mile. And it hit the ground, and it just totally devastated. I don't know if you can see us. This is what used to be a house behind us. I'm just going to pan around the neighborhood. So we've been out in the neighborhoods all every day since Saturday. We all of our agents are fine. We've had about 5 directly impacted, and I can't tell you how much KW Cares has been amazing. Kudos to those guys. Lexi was on the phone with people Friday night. Mark, you were calling, and the good news is we're all safe with all this devastation. And it hit the ground. It's about half a mile wide, and it ran 30 miles on the ground through the heart of Little Rock and North Little Rock. So it didn't hit rural. It hit the densely populated areas. So
and number one thing in all of these, because these happen every year, and the number one thing is to make sure that our agents are safe and that they're alive. And so I was able to send the group here a text message to say everyone's alive. It's step number 1. Everything else can be replaced. And so talk to us a little bit. We have a couple agents who have lost their homes. You want to tell that story?
Yeah, we have, one heroic thing we just learned today. We have one of our agents who literally was giving the keys to the people. They were moving in the house, and the tornado hit. As they were moving in, he ran upstairs and got the 6-month-old baby and saved the baby. That's just one of the stories. I've sent you videos of some of the ones where there's no roof left. One of our agents' mom was in the bathroom with her dogs, and she just walked out. No big deal. It is amazing that we have not had more loss of life, because it is total devastation.
The imagery behind you is very, very powerful. Would you mind just spinning around one more time? The folks want to maybe?
I'll go slow. We ended up, so what we've done every day, first thing we did was secure our agents, get them in touch with KW Cares. We had that all done by Friday night. Second thing we did was start assessing, and we put volunteer groups on the ground. And we just started in one of the neighborhoods, and we've been working the neighborhoods. And so I'm going to pan around real slow. This was a house behind me. And I say it was a house. And I'll pan slow. This was another house over here that's no longer there. And then as I go this way, this house, it's kind of weird. You've got this one with a little bit of damage, this one massive damage. Back down the street, we've got damage. It's just chaos everywhere.
You have there's so many people in the chat that are sending prayers and love and all of the things that you would expect.
Yeah. And, we've been very blessed. I can't tell you how great KW Cares has been. So, you always hear about it and how wonderful they are. Sam's fiance's house got hit, yet she's out here volunteering with us. She's our tech trainer. Glenn, you can see the chainsaw. We're going house to house, going in backyards, cutting up trees.
I just want to hold a chainsaw like that one day.
No. Glenn, you're supposed to hold it by the handle.
Tomorrow, okay, sir?
So give us a break on lead gen. We're out here. We're lead genning in the neighborhood. We got our KW Care shirts on.
He looks so cool.
You're doing the most important things. And by the way, this is why we give to KW Cares. I know that emergency grants are hitting this morning if they haven't hit already. And so we make sure that nobody goes without in a time like this. And thank you all for all that you're doing. We appreciate you coming into us live from what looks like a war-torn area.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, you're in our thoughts and in our prayers. And needless to say, everybody that is watching, KW Cares could sure use the help. If you see and you want to make a donation to replenish those funds, because we are getting dollars out the door this morning, please do that through your MCA.
Yeah, and thanks. And guys, we're going to run volunteers the rest of the week. We'll be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. What we literally need are chainsaws, and tractors,
Skid steers.
skid steers. We have so many trees down in backyards, and what we're finding is insurance isn't paying for the removal of the trees in the backyard, and they're getting charged $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 for removal. So we're literally going door to door, just cutting up trees with skid steers with volunteers.
So remind us the closest. So Northwest Arkansas is a couple hours away. How close are you to Memphis? And what market centers are around you?
Memphis is about 2 hours. Dallas is about 4.5 hours. Tulsa's 4.5 hours. Northwest Arkansas is probably 3 hours. Springfield, Missouri's 3.5, 4. So that's probably our loop. Missouri, if anything's in Mississippi, you know, they're a little further away. They've got their own stuff to deal with.
Yeah.
Just for Mark, or maybe some of the folks that don't know what a skid steer.
We know what a skid steer is.
Either way.
It's like a bobcat with a bucket on the front, and you push a lot of stuff.
I know,
with
I
it.
was going to describe it, but if you already knew. Perfect.
And it has a claw. It has a claw that takes the tree and moves the tree over.
Yeah.
Well, now we all know. Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for your leadership.
If anybody's interested, just call our market center. We've got housing really set up and different things running out of the market center. It's 501-907-5959. And thank you, Mark.
Say that again slowly so we can put it in the chat.
We got it in the chat.
Okay,
we got it.
Okay.
Rachel says she's coming to help. She's on the way. She's a little worried about projected storms tomorrow. So please be safe.
Yeah.
Well, and last thing, Carrie, on this is nobody stronger to lead this effort. One of the first things, my wife actually called me Friday afternoon and said, how's our family in Little Rock? And I didn't know what was going on. And when I called you, the first thing out of my mouth is, I'm so glad it's you. And I didn't mean it in any other way other than, I'm so glad there's such a strong leader there who's going to jump in and do the right thing. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, gang.
No problem. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. We're going to go back to cutting up trees.
Okay. So special thank you to KW Partners, who donated $5,000 to help out Sly and his son.
My gosh.
And, it's awesome.
Wow.
Great work. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know how you follow that.
How did you know what a skid steer was?
We'll talk later. So I had to do some research. It's not nice. Speaking of someone who uses a skid steer all the time.
This is a big day.
This is a huge day.
Huge.
10-year anniversary.
You don't get tattoos for something that isn't going to last 10 years.
Still have tattoos?
This man has tattoos.
Jay Papazan, welcome. How are you? Can you show the
We
tattoo?
just went straight personal there.
There it is.
That's one
Because
thing.
it's awesome.
So when you sell 3 million books, I guess you get a tattoo. I guess that's smart. You never got a tattoo.
You didn't get one either.
I waited till it sold 500,000. I told my wife, like when we launched the book, remember we had those temporary tattoos?
Yeah.
The idea was already there, but I was afraid I would get a tattoo and then find it on a remainder table, and that would be kind of embarrassing.
For those of you who don't know, that's where books that don't sell go to die.
So today's happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tell the people, Jay, what are we celebrating today?
So it's 10 years of the one thing. We've got so many like landmarks that we've gone through. The book has sold 3 million copies. I think it's in 42 languages now. Got a few of them right here.
Yeah, speaking of which, could you pan over here for a second, just because we put, this is the Do Ding.
Isn't that fun?
Right? That one's great. This one,
that's the French version. I've seen that with our French partners.
This is Japanese.
Yes, I believe so.
The ding. Yeah, it's absolutely.
I think that's Dutch. Yep.
Lo Unico.
Italian, I believe.
Okay. How many different languages is the book printed in?
42 and counting.
It's a worldwide phenomenon.
Like Mongolian.
Okay.
I mean, you're like, okay, I didn't know there was a market.
Oh my gosh,
Well,
Mark
Jason's
is huge
big
in
in
Mongolia.
Okay.
So I want to go back. So we get the honor. We're the only real estate company that has authors on staff, and y'all write the books that drive the entire industry. Take me back. 10 years ago, the book comes out.
Yeah.
How long before that did y'all start writing and researching it?
So it was about a 4.5-year journey.
Wow.
I like to tell people we were writing a book on focus and got distracted because right in the middle of that was the Great Recession, and we stopped and wrote Shift.
Okay.
And so that was about a 6-month project from start to finish. I had a lot of help from KWRI. We were working together to create the courses and the book. We spent another 6 months promoting it and then came back to the one thing. So
a book on focus, did you know when you all started to ideate around it that it was going to end up being this one thing idea, or were you thinking about focus a different way and this is what evolved?
the evolution, right? Anybody who's been around long enough to remember 36-12-3.
Okay.
Right? We were writing that course. I was in charge of KWU back then. Gary wanted to write an introduction. He came back on Monday with an essay called The Power of One. And you can go back and find that old course, and that was the original essay. And we're sitting in his office, and I said, you know, Gary, this feels like a book. And he said, I thought the same thing.
Cool.
So that's where it came from. And we just wanted to write something timeless about what I believed, and you've observed it, to be Gary's true superpower. When you look at all of the success, it usually comes back to his ability to identify the thing that matters most and be really appropriate in terms of giving it time and resources.
Was there one study that came back, or did you stumble over one thing during your research that crystallized it and you said, that's it? Or was it just you had a premise and everything kept supporting it?
Well, we had a premise. We started with an outline, right? A hypothesis. We hired two researchers, Vicki and Kyla, who spent 3 years. One was asked to look for stuff that supported, the other against.
Cool.
Right? Just to make sure we weren't walking in with confirmation bias. And that's really how it evolved. There were things that we chucked and there were things that we added from the research.
And in the writing room, I've gotten to watch you and Gary. There's this idea of killing your darlings.
Yep.
Which is I poured over this thing and in the end I had to cut it. Is there any one darling that you remember that you had to take out to get it into the format you have today?
Well, we had to cut 40% of the book in the last 3 months.
Wow.
We had a lot. You know how Gary can be very thorough. And we went down the rabbit hole, and our publisher loved it. He goes, but you know, when someone buys a book called The One Thing, they don't expect a doorstop. So we went back to the drawing board and just cut a lot of stuff. So there were lots of darlings to be cut from that, for sure.
There's a question from Stephanie. She says, when you talk to other people about the book, what's the thing that you see that most people miss when they read it?
I think a lot of people misunderstand that it's not you only have one thing. We all have a lot of stuff. I mean, look at that leader in Arkansas.
Yep.
I mean, she's dealing with a million things. It's about knowing what your one thing is at any given time so we can be appropriate in the moment. And then giving your number one priority more. And a lot of people just miss that.
Tom wants to know, is it true that you chose not to read The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy until The One Thing was done?
Yeah. I boycotted several books because I didn't want to unintentionally, and so did Gary, we didn't want to unintentionally let those ideas seep into the book if it wasn't authentically coming from us.
Well, I have a quick question. I saw this weekend, I don't remember the publication, but The One Thing was listed as one of the 10 most influential business books of this era. Is that true?
Yeah, that was, I can't remember the name of the group either. It was their private list from their membership, and it was like an industry, right?
Yeah.
So it was like some group, tech group or something like that. But we've been like the Goodreads listed on the top 100 business books of all time. There's all kinds of awards.
What's great about that is we are a real estate company, and you also wrote The Millionaire Real Estate Agent and
Right.
Millionaire
Investor.
Real Estate Investor. And so those books sold pretty well. How many copies of MREA have sold?
Just over 1.5 million.
And then how about MREI?
MREI is about 500,000.
Well,
So now you have a book that is not necessarily based on real estate that beats both of those combined.
And faster. It's on a much faster trajectory. It's a book, it's an approach that you can use in real estate. That's why, you know, we were thinking that when we wrote it.
Yep.
But you can use it in every area of your life.
I would like to say that there's been 1.5 million copies of MREA sold. So the current idea that everyone knows MREA is absolutely absurd, and it's just clown buffoonery, because there is 1.5 million realtors today, and you guys know the number that get washed out of the system every year. So I would submit to you that you still have the book that every real estate agent needs, and the supermajority of current realtors probably haven't read it.
It's still bleeping relevant. Can we put the slide up on the screen? And what we've got is a couple of gifts for you as a 10th anniversary gift. The first one is the One Thing webinar. Do you want to talk about that?
So it's actually, if you go to 17, Gary and I went into the studio right here, recorded about 40 minutes of lessons learned over the last decade. So on the 11th, if you know why we scheduled this on 4/11, you know if you know, right? But we intentionally want to do a webinar where we shared lessons learned, and we're going to highlight that interview with Gary. The full podcast will drop on the 17th.
For
And those,
Jason, that 411 also has another meaning. in our
Ah,
company.
that's so funny.
yes,
411, for those of you who
I had already put it in the chat.
Yeah, and we have a video to share, but before we do that, you can use this promo code and you can get 20% off. It's also one of the best ways to help your other business leaders in your community.
I've seen lots of our leaders in the field doing book clubs right now around the book.
Yep. All right, so go ahead and take that QR code, and if we could, Billy, let's hit the video.
This is cool, this video.
There you go, and you can get the video. We'll put the video out there for all of you to get. Now, Jason, you haven't sold 3 million books.
You know, I was just going to say, when you look at all of the different languages that book is in and realize that Gary and Jay wrote a book that's being sold in all those cities, and you haven't been to most of those places.
Yeah, Keller Williams is not about what you get, it's about who you become. And the fact that we have authors here in the building that can sell that many books is outstanding. We need them to write more.
We need them to write more.
All right.
Yes.
We'll get on that. We were not asked to write any books.
No.
Okay. So
We
on
were
that-
specifically told not to.
That's exactly right.
Similar.
On that note, tell us what's coming up.
We got the tech-focused leader. By the way, the idea, and I caught up with David Voorhees on this. Since there was this idea that tech was going to be just for one position, they've now opened this up to all positions. And as you all know, this call is for anyone who likes anything to do with technology. The numbers on this call is swelling dramatically.
Yep.
So it feels like there's a lot of interest in what we're doing around technology. That's the place to go and talk about it. The MCA growth call in action. I think this call is really important this month as we start to roll out new things around the win more deprecation.
Yes.
So how do you do it? How does all of it work? That's the place to go and be heard. Mark, agent of distinction.
Yeah, so we have, by the way, April's Fair Housing Month, and so we have Agent of Distinction coming up on April 6th. We have another Team Leader Skills Camp. We're getting rave reviews on that, and the program that Jen Lewis really packaged together. If you haven't been to that, please come.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting. You'll leave here with your head hurt, but you will leave here with tools that make sure that you are always making more and more money so that you can give to charity, so that you can have the life by design that you choose. KWU certified trainer info if you're interested in being KWU certified. And then of course, KW Talent, built to last workshop. Now, not a lot of people understand what KW Talent is and what Liz Landry is doing. So give us the 20-second pitch on KW Talent.
The fact of the matter is that talent isn't an outcome, it's a journey and it never ends. And so when you want all of the different tricks of the trade, and as soon as you come to terms with the fact that learning about people's personalities, learning how to get people into production faster with you than without you, and then learning how to keep people in your world, as soon as you realize that that's the challenge for all of life, that's kind of where Liz steps in.
Love it. And then we got Brett Tanner doing the Wealth Workshop, April 21st.
Well, special. We're going to talk about that one in a minute because you got a special guest, a gentleman with a mustache.
I love it.
And you're going to be there.
Yep.
And I'm going to be there.
That's fantastic.
And we have a handful of seats left.
Cool. All right. And then onboarding made easy from recruit to associates. It's one of those systems that we're finding can actually cause you to grow even more as you go through the onboarding made easy. And then FSO, the new FSO.
Well, and I think the reason that onboarding made easy is so important right now is because of the way that we're entering agents into the new system.
Yep.
So you don't want to miss it because there's tricks like everything else.
Yeah. And we had a group together this morning on Command MC talking about how to use the pipeline, and it makes everything so transparent. We're going to talk at the back end of the call of why that's so important.
All right, Mark, we got questions. We
yeah.
got, I can't make TL Skills Camp this time. Do you know when the next time it will be offered? And so I can schedule accordingly.
Yes, I think Jen's going to put that in the chat as we speak, or someone will put that in the chat as we speak, when the next Team Leader Skills Camp is after the April one. It's code for, I'm not sure. In fact, what we did is we added more dates because more and more people were asking to come.
Brilliant.
Yep. And so then we have the MCA growth call. These are becoming as important or more important than this call, but it's for the market centers to implement what we talk about on this call.
By the way, if you are planning, that TL Skills Camp will be July 17th through the 21st.
Okay.
There's no better place to be than Austin in July. Your thoughts?
It's hot. It's hot. All right, let's talk about the April workshop.
There's a handful of seats for this left, and here's what we know. There's two groups of people. There's the kind that pay their taxes and the kind that don't. You don't want to be in group number 2. But for those of you in group number 1, you will wake up at the end of April 17th, which is that Monday, and you will say, gosh, one of 3 things is true. I either didn't make enough money, evidenced by the fact that I didn't owe a lot in taxes. I made a bunch of money and I gave it all away, evidence that you didn't tax plan. Or number 3, I'm absolutely in need of more information so that I can make more money and then keep more of it. If that is you in that last group, this is the workshop for you. You'll have Brett, you'll have Gabby, I'll be there. You're doing an hour of that.
Yep.
And then Gary is doing a part of that. There are, as I think, 23 seats left. The QR code is right there. The best way, I think, to have the best impact from this event, bring a couple of agents from your market center and come. The conversations you'll have at dinner and at the happy hours are completely different. As soon as you start bringing wealth into the discussion, people become stickier.
The stories coming out of this are truly astounding. We've heard in this last week $23,000 in savings on their tax bill based on what they learned in this from cost segregation. We have people that are earning hundreds of thousands of dollars that they didn't know about before coming to this workshop. So,
and yes, to the private message I just got, there is a 4th group, those packing a go bag who intend not to pay taxes and to leave the country. But we're not focusing on that group.
no, now, ironically, we normally would put the mega leadership slide up here and say, please sign up. It's coming up. It's May 7th through 9th.
Don't.
Don't.
Sold out.
Not yet. I think we have a couple seats left. If someone from the events team can put on, do we have any seats left?
Unless I have bad information, but I'm looking for the events team now.
Try it and see.
270.
270 total seats left. If you're not registered and you're waiting until the last moment, don't wait. My guess is it's completely gone by the end of today. All right. Next item up for bid.
Big thank you guys for helping out Sly. I think collectively since the call started, we're past the $3,000 mark, plus the $5,000 the Market Center did. Y'all are doing it again, so thank you.
That is fantastic. All right, let's jump in. And we have Wendy Harrelson on the line. If we could bring Wendy, and let's go to the board. Can we go to the board?
Let's go to the board.
Thank you.
Friends, as always, I am watching the chat log. If you have any questions for Mark and Wendy in real time, please send them over.
All right, Wendy, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Welcome. So you and I have been doing something really strange for the last month, and people are questioning why we're doing this. And I wanted to share today on the growth call why we're doing it and the results that we're getting from it. So we picked a couple of market centers here in Austin, 3 of them because of our local proximity. And what we've done is we've led an 827 morning huddle every day for a month. You've been there, I've been there either in person or on Zoom every single day. And there's 3 sets of market centers and they're all coming in on Zoom, et cetera. So what I wanted to do is walk through what we're doing and why we're doing it. And then let's talk about the differences that it's making already. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, so at a very high level, if you haven't been to Team Leader Skills Camp, these are the kind of systems and models that you learn. And some of you might say, Jason, someone in the chat will say, why 827 instead of 830?
So far, no one's asked that.
Yeah, and the reason why, so don't ask it, I'll save you the question. The reason why is when you set it at 8:30, people show up at 8:32 and 8:35 and grab their coffee, and before you know it, it's 9 o'clock. When you set it at 8:27, everybody's in their seat ready to go at 8:27.
Speaking of which, there was an interview with Deion Sanders that just hit. It's all over the YouTube.
Yep.
And he benched his son from their championship game because his son showed up late to the meeting. Can you imagine?
I cannot imagine, but it's the right thing to do.
It is.
I love it. All right, so here's how we break down each of the days, and we can get into the themes of each week, etc. But the important part is everyone in those market centers or market centers that do this now are thinking as one team. So if I would argue on the 10th anniversary of the one thing you could do to improve performance today is just start having an 8:27 morning meeting and be terrible at it and learn your way through and fail your way forward, etc. But I'm going to walk you through this, and Wendy, jump in anytime. What I literally do every morning is I walk in at 8:27 or get on the Zoom and I say, hello team, what's today? So what's today, Jason?
Monday.
Very good. The questions get harder.
Oh my
from
gosh.
Here. So
what is a skid sayer?
Chase is on. See, Chase has already answered. It's Monday. And what do we talk about on Monday?
What do we talk about on Mondays? We can do it all together as a team.
Appointments.
Appointments.
We talk about appointments. Now, here's the
What does that
cool
mean?
thing. What it means is we're tracking the lead indicator to what is going to eventually result in profit for us.
So what does this look like? So let's say I go to the meeting.
Yep.
Are you going to say to me, Jason, tell me about the appointments you have this week?
So what we're going to say is, what's today? And you're say Monday.
Monday.
We're say, what do we talk about on Monday? And everybody on the team is going to say appointments. I'm going to say, great, let's pull out your multi-year trend from last month. And what we're going to do is we're going to dissect. This morning we did a bunch of great math, because here's what we find, Wendy, when you remove the emotion and you just put in straight math, and I'll give you an exact number of something we're working on today with one of the market centers here in a second.
49, turning 50 this year.
Before we get there, that's not the number. Before we get there, Wendy, what do we talk about on Tuesdays?
We talk about,
Gross.
Tuesday,
Gross.
okay, and then it's
And
value,
then
net.
Yep. And our favorite on Fridays, we talk about profit.
Profit.
Now, there's all kinds of reasons why we do this, but here's the point. If you want to think about the 10th grade algebra class you went to and you thought you'd never use it, your appointments will equal your gross. You have a conversion rate. All of us have a conversion rate. And once you know that number, you can't unknow it. And so we had an example this morning. One of our market centers is a 2.5 appointment to 1 gross ratio. Now they know exactly how many appointments they need to hit their gross goal. We had another at 3.33 appointments per 1 gross. In other words, I had a first-time appointment, which is defined as I did a needs analysis, I may have had an action plan, and I asked the closing question, and I met this person in person. And so your appointments will equal your gross. We had another one that was 4.77 appointments for every gross, because your appointments will equal your gross. So you all have a conversion rate. What if you don't know your conversion rate? It's okay. We're going to start to learn it together. So your gross plus your value, the value you provide in your market center, will always equal your net.
Yep.
Now here's the number that we all want to argue with, but the math says that it's right. 3% of your agents in your market center are going to leave on average every single month. That's so sad. Why don't we work on, Wendy, why don't we just work on retention? Forget this recruiting thing.
Because we have to keep growing. We just have to focus on growth. It's going to happen no matter what. We know across the industry, it's 3 to 4% every month. It doesn't change. If you can get it to 2%, you're a hero.
About 20 years ago, I remember arguing this point in Austin, Texas with a bunch of leaders. And I said, why don't we just focus on retention? Why don't we just stop losing people? And a very prominent leader in our company at that time said, well, here's the reasons people leave. And it included spouse gets transferred, people pass away, unfortunately, people get out of the business at an alarming rate, low barrier to entry, et cetera. So what we've learned over time is there's no path to net without first grossing. There's no path to gross without first having appointments. So the only variable there is what value do you deliver in your local market center? Now, some of you are going, this is elementary and all that stuff. I can tell you as a company though, our ratios aren't as strong as they could be. So the reason net matters is because your net will always be the number one indicator of your profit in our economic model. And so now we've just reduced what could be an emotional conversation. Little Rock, Arkansas this month is not focused on any of these boxes, and they shouldn't be. They're taking care of their humans, and that is first. So you're going to have disruptions in this. So when we can get through that, we can pull right back into the math and we can go drive our profitability. And here's the thing, once you know, you can't unknow. And either you're choosing to do it or you're choosing not to do it. So I'll give you an example of this morning, is we had 100 appointments in a market center last month. This is one of the larger market centers, if you're wondering, 100 appointments. And those 100 appointments led to 30 gross. So real quick, you can do the math in your head that the ratio from appointment to gross is 3.33 to 1. For every 3.33 appointments we will have 1 gross, right? Now, that market center provides value and that leads to their net. Their net is 1 for the month, and here's why. They have 957 agents in their market center. So let's just check our math, those of you who use your phone for calculator. What's 957 times 3%, which is your average attrition rate every single month per market center? 957 times 3%. Put it in the chat.
29.
29. So we know going into every month with this agent count, we're going to lose 29 agents. We know that. And we can argue about it. And Mark, this month we only lost 22. I know, but talk to me next month when the number is 35, right? And seasonality plays a part, et cetera. We know we're going to lose 29. So 100 appointments, gross 30 to net 1. Yowzers, right? That's now, by the way, that means we've added one person that's going to help our profit grow. Now, in that market center, what we have a goal of grossing more than that, so we can net more than that. And that gross goal is actually 48 in that market center, right? Plus the value will equal a net, we know, of 19 humans, 19 agents that we can help change lives with that will lead to more profit. So let's reverse engineer this for a second. If we need 48 gross in that market center, and don't get caught up in, oh my gosh, that's so many appointments. We'll talk about that in a second. But all you have to do is take your 48, your gross goal, times your 3.33 conversion rate, and that will give you your appointment number.
160.
160.
We need 160 appointments to gross 48 so that we can net 19 so we can grow our profit. And the goal in that market center, the profit goal is 160, or that market center is 100,000 a month. So if you think about how these all tie together, it's just math. Go ahead, Wendy.
Or you get your value conversation a little bit sharper and you can convert at 2.5.
Well, Wendy, that goes to Jen's asking a question in the chat. What does the value conversation look like?
So if we were having this on Wednesday, Wendy, we'd walk in, we'd say, what's today? And you'd say Wednesday. And we say, what do we talk about Wednesday? You'd say value. And what do we talk about on Wednesdays?
Talk about value, what our value proposition is. And I think that that's one thing that people miss. What is the value of your market center? What's the value of Keller Williams? And we need to focus on, is it the one thing? I mean, hello, we just saw one of the greatest books ever. We have our leadership, we have our wealth class. I mean, we have so much value that you can't actually tell it all in a recruiting appointment. But you got to find out what specifically is being focused on in your market center and why would you be able to change somebody's life for them coming in your market center that day.
So here's the test. In the chat, please write, what is the value that your market center offers to an agent? Go ahead and put it in the chat. And Jason will read off some of these for us. Go ahead, put it in. Go ahead.
Creating millionaires, KW Cares, agent production, training and education, coaching and consulting, wealth building, our amazing culture, training, net, I'm not sure what that is, wealth, communities, education, culture, training, wealth, support, culture, profit, wealth, integrity.
Integrity, I love that.
That's
So Mark,
yep.
there was a time when I used to teach leadership, the growth through value, market center, fundamentals, all the separate leadership, sorry. And I had a class and I gave them all a piece of paper and I told them all to put down the one word that their market center provided. And we made a wall of value. And you know, there were only 3 duplicates out of like 85 people in the class. I don't know if anybody on here remembers that, but it was unbelievable. So if you just took this call and you thought through that and you made a wall of value in your market center, or you took the bricks and how we used to make the brick wall, we have so much. So anybody asking what our value is?
Well, and here's the thing, understand that people are attracted to your local value first, they stay for the international value. And so when you think about it from that perspective, what does your local market center stand for and how does that relate to your competitors? If I asked all the agents who are not at your office, but they're at competitors' office, what their company's value was, what would they tell me? And do you know? Right? And how do you rank? That's what our guerrilla warfare process is all about, is understanding what our competitors do and then making sure that we offer more value than they do. Keep me in the chat channel.
You got any questions for Mark? Just put them in the chat and we will get them done.
Let's go back to this example, because a lot of you might go, oh my gosh, one market center, if you have 208 agents, the average in our company right now, you're going 160 appointments, that's crazy. This market center has 957 agents, and I just want to walk you through this concept. This is
Mark, someone's asking, what percentage of the 160 appointments that you need do you anticipate will come from agent referrals?
So this is a brilliant question. We went over this morning. As you go through this, I want to, if we all just went backwards and we started in first grade, to use a school analogy, we would have very, very high level conversations about this, but you can tweak every step along the way. So for example, if you have all of your appointments that are agent referrals, your conversion to gross will skyrocket up. It'll be closer to 2 to 1. If all of your appointments are set by VAs with people thinking about getting into real estate, you'll be at a 15 or 20 to 1. It's the average of all those appointments that lead you to your conversion rate. So in a perfect world, all of these systems and models lead you to better conversion rates. To Wendy's point, if this market center were at 2-to-1, they would need 96 appointments a month, not 160. But the point is, the path is in the math. And so what this tells you, when we had 3 different market centers, 3 different conversion rates, and 3 different systems, models, and people running that recruiting process. All this is, no matter where you are in your agent count today, if you're not 1,400, which I think is our largest, Wendy, somewhere around that number.
Yep.
Okay, so if you're short of 1,400 agents, there's opportunities for us to learn and grow. Now, in that market center, how many people are on staff?
Probably about 30.
Yeah, so
In the
30.
1,400 one,
Yeah.
about 30. Yeah.
So if you have 208, you probably have 4 people on staff. So all this is about adding to your systems, because what happens is we grow until we hit a natural ceiling. You've seen this as E to P. And what we need to do is break through that ceiling with systems, models, people, and technology. And one of the things I'm most excited about is we had Donnie on this morning talking about how to use Command MC in order to track all of this and be more transparent, in order to, by the way, an appointment is, you can only have the first time appointment with a human being 1 time. So I know there's some confusion around that. I had 10 appointments with Jason. He joined me and I got 1 gross. So I'm 10-to-1. No, you had 1 first time appointment with Jason. So your gross, your conversion is 1-to-1. But what happens is we have to put in new systems, models, people, and technology as we grow. And as you do that, you'll break through the ceiling, and then you'll start to grow again. And then you'll hit another ceiling. That's just the path of building a business model like ours. Wendy, do you want to add anything to this?
No, I would just say that I think people look at 160 appointments and think it's just not doable. And I have a market center as 1,000 agents, and they have to do that many appointments, because we're going to lose 30 people a month. And that sounds crazy, but we do.
Ironically, the average number of appointments for team leaders in this market center is 26.3. So before you think you can't do 160 appointments, yes, you can. It just may need more human beings, right? More systems, more tools, et cetera. And by the way, when I teach this in TL Skills Camp, this is fine. And I have broad shoulders. And so people will say, this is so elementary, Mark. And then I'll look at their multi-year trends, and they have a 5-to-1 conversion ratio, and they're going backwards every month. So this may seem elementary to you, but the goal that I would have for you, if I was your coach, would be 5% of your agent count is your gross goal target. So 5% of 957 then would be 48. So that's the gross goal. If we want to grow, think 5%. So if you are in the average, let's use 200 for easy math, 6 people are leaving every single month on average. So if you want to grow, your gross goal would be 10 a month, 5%, so that you net 4 every single month. And what happens is suddenly the appointments you had to gross 10 aren't enough to keep up with your attrition. It's just a natural part of our business.
Well, and also 2 appointments a day is honestly unheard of for a team leader in a market center that size. That's what you should be doing. That's where your strength zone is. That's when you get gratification back. And if you're doing all of that, you don't have to deal with all the other stuff. Because we all know when production's down, drama's high.
Mark,
right?
The 100%.
And if you just fill your appointments up and just meet with agents all day long, 1, you're going to leave not exhausted, you're going to leave fulfilled. And if you have 7 or 8 appointments a day, which is what I loved as a team leader, and it just didn't even seem like a normal day unless you had that many. And so it was easy, and you kept growing, and you didn't have to deal with the couch moments of, solving somebody's problem about a car or a spouse. Or
by the way, I'm going to put you on the spot here, Wendy. You were one of the 10 people that I found and interviewed several years ago at Family Reunion 2019. I interviewed 10 people that had earned $1 million a year in the team leader seat. And you were one of those people. And it may not have all come from one market center as a team leader, but this idea of being a millionaire team leader just comes from understanding this at the highest level.
A couple of questions for you two. Number one, Julia wants to know, out of the 160 appointments, and maybe you can do this as percentages.
Sure.
But what number is the MCA doing? What number is the coach doing? What number is the MCTT doing? How are you doing this?
Yeah, so we can break all this down. There's not a perfect percentage. More importantly is, what is the percentage of productive agents in that number? If 160 appointments with people thinking about getting their license, your gross is going to reflect that. And you might gross, right? And keep in mind, this month we might have 160 appointments and have no gross from that group. So this builds on itself. For example, we had 100 appointments in this market center and this is February numbers, and 30 people joined. Even if it was from the same month, and it wasn't, that means there's 70 people who at one time thought, I'll go listen to see what they have to say. So they're a warm lead from this point forward. The question is, what is our follow-up systems for those 70 people who didn't join us so that in the future they can join us? This is how you get your conversion rate over time closer to that 2 or 3 to 1.
Matt says, when was the last time you asked each of the agents in that market center for a referral? What does it look like with 967 agents?
So I asked that question, and here's ironically, and it's a guess because we're still learning, we're putting in systems. Once they're all into Command MC, it won't be a guess anymore. We'll be able to pull the exact percentage because in the pipeline, we're putting in who referred the appointment. So imagine next month we have 100 appointments, and all 100 of them have an agent's name by them. That would be 100% referral-based recruiting. Now, by the way, that is where you all want to go, and that is the easiest place to be to run a market center. Their guess this morning, Wendy, was 30% of the 100 appointments were referred by other agents. Isn't it ironic? Their gross was 30.
Is the TL / leadership setting all these appointments, or is the recruiter on staff setting appointments?
So again, this is a monster market center. It depends on your staff, et cetera. If you're in the average 208 person market center, then likely your ALC is helping setting appointments. You as the team leader are setting appointments, but it should be an all hands on deck. All of your vendors help you set appointments. It should not be hard for you to get 40 appointment referrals if you're utilizing what we teach in TL Skills Camp. But I want to go back to one of the things that you can do if your productivity coaches are truly running your new agent recruiting programs. They're having the big group career nights. They're using K-Score or another real estate school partnership, and they're just funneling in. Again, that's just going to be math. Think of it as a big funnel. I don't know if y'all can see this, but there is a number once you know you can unknow. If you have a goal, whether it's if I'm in an average market center of 208, my goal is to cover my attrition with new agent recruiting. So I need 6 gross a month to spit out the bottom of my funnel. Well, then the question is, how many of those people do I need to get into real estate school? Let's say that's 12 to get into real estate school, so half pass and join. How many people do I need to meet, or how many appointments do I need to have to get 12 people into real estate school? That number might be 30. I'm just making this up, but you should know your numbers. I can tell you exactly what my numbers were as a team leader, and this is not a, hey, look at me. It's, I got tired of playing the what if and guessing game with my projections. And I said, I'm going to narrow this down exactly to the number of phone calls I make, who answers, how many appointments I set, how many of those show up to how many I gross, right? But if you need 30 appointments, then how many people do I need at career night? I might need 60 people at career night, right? So if I'm at the average market center, this is how I think about this funnel. Once you know those conversion rates, you can't unknow.
Perfect. If we could, the video team, could you please find Donnie Brookman and have him turn his camera on, because we have a technology-specific question that I want to talk about when it comes to Command MC. While we're waiting for him to be found, does that market center, Mark, have a VA setting appointments, or does the MC use the PC, MCA, or agent services to do it? Who's actually doing the work here?
So here's the challenge with this conversation, and I'll share all of it with you, but it's kind of like
there's like 6 or 7 people asking the same thing. And it sounds like they're all team leaders saying, who actually sets these appointments?
Got it. So we'll answer the question, but what you're doing is saying, I do 100 million, or I do $1 million in production, that person's doing 100 million, what are they doing different than me? A lot of things that they had to learn the hard way over time. But to answer your question, there is a VA setting appointments for some of them. Those are a lot of the people who don't end up joining or getting licensed. There are 6 team leaders in all of Austin. I think there's maybe 3 in that market center that added to those numbers. And so they're getting leads from their agents and their vendors, et cetera. They're setting those appointments, but there's a combination. One of the team leaders just moved remotely with her husband, and she's now acting as an ISA. But the in-person appointment, she's funneling to another team leader.
Perfect. Donnie, I think we have you here. We have a couple of questions that came in, some of them just to the panelists and the host, but some of them the group. This one says, when is Command MC going to be ready so that we can set up follow-ups in the system? So I guess the real question here, today as we stand, what should we be doing in it, and then what should we expect?
Yeah, that's a great question. It would be 2 different paths. If you want to set up a follow-up, you can do that as either as an individual task on a recruit, Or what I would recommend is using one of the smart plans from the Command MC Smart Plans library. So think of the quarterly call plan, for example. I could subscribe a recruit and add them to my quarterly call plan, and it's going to simply remind me to call them every 90 days, just like our agents do with their database.
Got it. You know, there was someone in here that said, I can't wait until the analytics comes out so I know who I need to call. And then somebody else wrote, I'm going to call everyone.
Yeah.
By the way, you'll both win.
Yep.
Keep in mind, the brokerage industry has been running the same way forever, and offices have grown.
This is where I'm going to get myself in trouble. Mega Leadership, we're going to do this live with the predictive analytics, and you're gonna see how powerful that tool is. My concern is we won't call people who aren't on the list, thinking that they're not going to ever join, and that's where you get some of your best agents from. But Donnie, correct me if I'm wrong. If we follow this process using Command MC, I can literally track my appointment all the way through to my net, and then I can track their company dollar. I can do all of this in Command MC today. Is that fair?
Absolutely. And not only that, but we're setting ourselves up to make that process even easier as we're approaching the migration of our associate management system coming up next month. So we've had almost 2,000 leaders go through that training in March. We have more trainings all throughout April to learn that start to finish process. I also think it's a great time for us to be having this discussion because we're starting the second quarter, and Command MC's goals, they're all designed to follow the 12-week year mindset. So we just had a reset option where we can look at the 3 remaining quarters in 2023 and decide as a team, where are we at towards our annual stretch and commitment goals, and what activities can we change or alter to help make sure that we're working to strive those, to meet those.
Donnie, Danielle is asking, she's saying, what's the best way to track my dials? If I want to keep track of that, can I do it in Market Center MC? Should I be doing it somewhere else? What's the play?
Yeah, you're going to add an activity on a recruit record. And when you add activities like phone calls, meetings, emails, whatever activity that might be, remember, that's going to transition into their associate record. So when that recruit becomes an associate that next day, you still have tracking history for all of the phone calls you made throughout the recruiting relationship process.
So there might be some people watching and maybe even tuned out because they say, I'm not a team leader. I don't need to pay attention as I can't play a role in this. It was actually Rebecca Rose who started tracking all of these numbers in our market center, which led us to understand, because I had no idea. It was a guessing game every month. But I'm going to give you the exact numbers as she tracked those. For every 40 dials of the phone, we had 20 people answer. And as a MAPS coach, I used to check this, and it seems to be the same all around the country. And so when you say, wow, most people don't answer the phone, I don't believe you, and so I'll jump on the phone with you. We'll make the calls together, because I found every market I've worked in has been about half the people answer their phone, right? And so of those 20 conversations, and we teach this in depth at TL Skills Camp, but I want to give you the numbers, because once you know, you can't unknow. I would set about 4 appointments, and after we figured out how to use the KPA properly, 3 of those 4 people would show up in order for 1 to join. And by the way, these are our R2 numbers. So if you want to recruit a capper, I can show you exactly how. We've done it on this call before in about 4 hours of your time in how to recruit a capper. Now, is there other things for us to do in the Market Center? Absolutely. But one of the things you can do, teams, is help your team leader understand exactly what these numbers are. Because once you know, it doesn't matter what they are. Let's say you make 80 calls to get 20 answers, whatever the case is. Once you know your numbers, you can now back into any goal that you have. I mean, you should never have a conversation again of, I wish I made more money. In fact, figure out how all of your bonuses work in compliance with your growth, and however that works in your market center, and go build a plan and build a 1-3-5 round it, tie your 4-1-1 to it, and say, this is exactly how we're going to go make the income we choose to make.
Perfect. By the way, those of you asking specific questions to me about different APIs for different things that you want to connect, Donnie, that's that Tech for All leadership call where they'll be able to ask anything they want. Is that right?
That's correct. I was actually just going to toss out, because of the questions that we're seeing in the chat, if you all think it would be a good idea, we can pivot tomorrow's Tech Focus Leader Call agenda and focus exclusively on how you set and track towards your goals in Command MC instead.
I love it. Mark, are you using the personal KPA, the short one, or the job match?
So it's a great question. So typically it's a short one for these appointments. And as we get into relationship, or as we make hires to their team or hires in the Market Center, we're using the long form.
Are there TL Skills Camp resources or videos for people who can't take the in-person training until the end of the year?
There are. That's a good question. I have a different question for why you can't take it till the end of the year, but that's a different thing. Yes, we will. We're going to share. We're not trying to hide any secrets from you, but they may not make sense if you're not in class.
I love it. And the other aha from this chat log is that Donnie is much more liked than any of us.
1,000%. That's always the truth.
As always,
so
Donnie,
sad.
thank you for jumping in, pal. Appreciate you very much.
Thank you for having me on. Don't believe any of that for a second, though. You guys are awesome. Thanks for having me.
You are the best.
He's awesome.
I know. Even when
I love that
when you
guy.
compliment him, he's
He
even
can't.
more
He
likable.
won't let you have it. He's like,
I
no, no,
know.
it's you, it's you.
I wish he was my coach.
Wendy, what final thoughts from you on all of this? It seems like what you're driving at is the one thing is recruiting, but maybe I'm missing it. So
No, I don't think you're recruiting. Howard said it a long time ago in the chat. Recruiting is your best retention. I mean, if you keep growing the market center, people want to stay. There's a reason why people are joining you, and it looks good for everybody. Plus, if you recruit an agent, MCA, director of first impression, anybody, it feels good. And you are responsible for changing that person. Everybody should be responsible for recruiting and re-recruiting in the market center every single day. I remember when I got to a point where I never made another cold call because they all came from inside, and it was so much easier. And there's so many ways to recruit without it feeling like recruiting. Just congratulating somebody on an award they won, just congratulating somebody for a great month, congratulating somebody for doing a great transaction with your other agent in your market center. They don't get that from their broker. You have to have a relationship. I lead everything by relationships. That's just who I am. And if you do that, you're going to feel better and stronger, and people trust you. They want to know you care about them. They trust you and that you can help them. That is it. That is all an agent wants. That's all your people want, is to trust you, know you care about them, and that you can help them. And if you manage those 3 heart questions, which were in the book from previous classes, you'll nail this. And you should love your job. You should love your position. And if you do, it will show.
Love it. Wendy, thank you for everything
You're
you're doing.
welcome.
Always appreciate you. You know, for me, and then I'll let you close us out. I had this epiphany when Exp was kind of hitting and they were doing their thing. And I couldn't understand why you had real estate agents who were buying this stock when none of the actual dollars and cents made any logic, because math. Like, I'd look at it and I'd say, wait a minute, it's not worth that much. Why do people keep paying it? And so I started you remember this, because I like lost my mind. I did the same thing with the company that rhymes with Pompous. And I couldn't understand it. And so I started interviewing the agents. And you know what they all pretty much said without saying it? Was that the fundamentals, the financial fundamentals, didn't matter, which is weird when you're talking about stock. But put it aside for a second. The net, they just wanted to own pieces of stuff they believed in. That was it.
Yep.
And whatever the holy mission they were on at the time, they believed in it. And so they didn't care what it cost. And what Wendy just said makes all the sense in the world to me, which is if they actually believed in what was going on locally, 100%, it'd probably be easier to get a referral from them than if they don't.
That's right.
The challenge that you have is that you guys are playing zone defense and it's 3 on 208. That is a huge challenge. Please know that we see you and we understand how hard that is. We really, really do. There's 2 ways to do it, and Gary said this. Gary said, for the masses, you love them from the front of the room and it's a classroom. So the more time that you can spend teaching, the more time that they'll spend learning, and the more time that you help them know how to think. And for those of you that say, I stand up great classes, but no one shows up, you got a marketing problem. You got to spend as much time marketing the education as you do providing it, or you're just yelling alone. And then the number 2 way, you're going to coach the top agents.
Yeah, I am so thrilled about the market that we're in. And you might say, that sounds crazy. We just lost 5% of the National Association of Realtors membership in the last 3 months. We're on pace to lose 300,000 agents in this business. I am thrilled about that for a couple of reasons. All these innovative companies, and you mentioned some of our competitors, they were growing, they're disruptive, et cetera. What's happened to their growth? Same thing that's happened to our growth. Everything was easier before. Now is when the pros show up. You notice some of those companies you mentioned stopped writing checks and went public with, we're not writing checks anymore. What's happened to their agent count since then? It's gone backwards. Others that said, we're going to get to 500,000 agents suddenly came out and said, well, the market's the reason we're going backwards in agent count. You have an advantage that no one else has. And you have the size and scale that no one else has. You have all the value that nobody else has. So this is the moment where we go from 1 out of 5 real estate transactions in the US and mirrored in Canada and other parts of the world, run through a Keller Williams office. We have an opportunity to go to 1 in 4 this year. If we just focus on the lead measures that lead to the lag measures, and that's focus on your appointments.
There it is, everybody. The one thing wouldn't be a success without you. happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.